Hi, Rashi. How are you?
Hello, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. Very good. What I might do is just
No. My colleague will first introduce you to the candidates. Then
okay.
uh, he will just, ask you to take over.
No, I'm just looking where to load my presentation. Share
Uh,
screen. Yep, that's correct. I got it.
yes, sir. Sir, just 1 second. We have this Mac and Me backdrop. I will just send it to you. You have to put it.
I have a plain background at the moment. It's okay.
I'm just sending you right away. Sir, I've sent you the backdrop on Mac Me Cyber Group.
That's a busy background. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir.
Where is this? Apps, reaction, record, chat, participant start video. Where is it? Under apps, is it?
Sir, just give me a
What-
second. There is a background and effects
Oh,
option.
view, and it's under view. Okay, that's fine. Hang on, let's have a look. Must be under view.
You have to download the backdrop, then it will automatically, on
Gallery.
edit side. Yes, sir.
Hide cell view, hide video participants. What is he talking about? Why do you want to go for gallery? I'm just looking. Blur my choose virtual background. There you go. Video. Background and effects. Plus add image. Okay, yep, it's done.
It's done?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
You can call me Raj, by the way. There's don't need to say sir. It's okay.
Okay.
I prefer it.
I would like to, sir, introduce you to my colleague Shrey, who is going to introduce you to the candidates.
Greetings,
Okay.
sir.
Hi, Shrey, how are you? Let me just get my video on. Where is it? Here we go.
Sure thing,
Video.
sir. It's all right.
Does that look all right there?
Yeah, it looks fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Camera, here we go. Good. It's winter here, by the way, so that's why I'm wearing lots of clothes.
It's chance. Australia is one of the places where everything goes upside down. That's what they say.
Sure.
Hello, Raj uncle. Archit this side. Is everything set up?
Yeah. So who's this I'm talking to?
Hi, Raj sir. Archit.
Oh, hi, Archit. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, our backdrop is also set up now.
Yeah, you can see it?
Yeah, I can see it. So the meeting will be automatically recorded to the cloud. So I think no one has to do anything. But if someone wants to record the meeting by their own, they can do it
Okay.
in their own PC if someone wants. Ideally, it is being recorded in the cloud.
Okay. And you allow people to look at it later.
Yeah, we usually send them afterwards, no?
Sure. No
Once
problem.
the class is done, so we send it to students.
Okay. Okay, we got people coming along.
Greetings, everybody. I hope everybody's doing fine here. So first of all, welcome to our officially first class of our cyber forensics course. Also, without further ado, I would like to introduce to our prestigious international faculty from Australia, Dr. Rajeshwar Dutt Sharma. So Dr. Sharma is an Australian citizen having a doctorate in design, manufacturing, research, and development in electronics industry. He also carries the experience of 40 years in the hardware and software sector in the electronics area. And he has been heading the Australian delegation, which comes to India to discuss IT solutions. Currently, he is also a technical member of the committee, which is digitizing the Sydney Metro Ring Rail. So without further ado, over to you, Mr. Rajeshwar sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Raj Sharma, as you've just been advised. Please feel free to call me Raj. Did you want my video on? Hello? Hi, can everybody hear me?
Audible, sir.
Okay, great. So I guess we have 1 hour of basic information. Just to confirm that we have how many? 9 people here? Yes, we have 9 participants in total. Is that correct? Okay, everybody's got their mics off, huh?
No, it's been muted from the other side, sir.
Sorry?
It's been muted from the host, sir.
Oh, okay. Can I would like to share my screen. I guess we can start with the presentation. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So after the last week, I guess this is just a formal introduction to.
Recording in progress.
Okay, somebody's recording in progress. Let me get the share screen going. Okay. Where is my file? Just get that up. Okay, can you see that one now? Does that come up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Why is it not full screen here? Let me get rid of some stuff here. Can you see the whole presentation, or do you want me to close some stuff here? I can't see what you're seeing.
Sir, it's the starting headline is there, sir.
I've got an extra screen here. Should I hide that? Yeah, minimize it. Okay, how about that? Is that okay for everybody?
Okay, sir.
All right, so let's just dive straight into it. So cyber and crime computer, I put them in the same heading. It basically, cyber and crime, computer crime refers to illegal criminal activities carried out to target individuals, corporations, governments via any connected devices. I mean, we could elaborate on it, but basically anything that is connected, either locally, remotely, or via the cloud, if there's any activity that's seen as suspicious, is considered to be a crime, be it cybersecurity crime or a computer crime. That's the general legal definition that has been agreed upon. Using various techniques and methods to exploit vulnerabilities with systems, steal sensitive information, commit fraud, spread malware, virus, and conduct identity thefts. We're all pretty much familiar with what these things mean, but we will elaborate into some extra things as to how legally and how we could handle this from a technical point and also from the legal and business point of view. Obviously, the things are financial losses, reputational, and in cases there could be physical violence due to stalking and other things. Financial losses is primarily the main motivation behind criminals to get involved in cybersecurity. We'll touch on to some other areas as well. These examples can be put into phishing scams. I mean, I'm sure you all heard about these terms. We will discuss a little bit more later what that means. Distributed denial of service, which basically means criminals go and attack a particular server. Take the Amazon server, for example. They can go and have millions of computers basically trying to log in and occupy the bandwidth. That means if you're a genuine customer of Amazon, you can't get on. So that's basically called denial of service. Ransomware attacks, they basically encrypt your data on a local drive so you're unable to get it, and then they demand ransom. Majority of these currently in Australia we get is from Russian sources. Theft identity, well, you basically take somebody's personal information to duplicate a profile, get your own credit profiles running. Online fraud schemes to deceive people into making money transactions. In Australia, I'm not sure you get this in India much, but we get text messages from pretending to be children who go and demand money from parents. Say, I'm stuck here, I lost my phone or a wallet, please send me X amount of dollars. And 90% of the parents surprisingly send the money without asking questions. That's been very, very popular in the last, we heard this in the last year. It's become very, very common. And I think the numbers were horrendous. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars have been lost in a year, just in that one particular scam. Also includes illegal behavior using the internet. So anything that you do that's illegal from a legal standpoint, using the internet or other interfaces. So internet is one means of connecting. You could have other means. It could be Bluetooth. You could have direct connections or whatever. Somebody can plug in a physical cable in your car and steal data from you if you had to. So there's lots of other options. Law enforcement agencies work to identify, investigate, and deter criminals. So their job, I mean, law enforcement agencies it's a difficult position because you need technical abilities, you need legal knowledge, and you also need business knowledge to know exactly what is exposed. So I think as law enforcement and law, in fact, the entire legal profession has got a huge challenge because you need to be an expert almost in all three fields to be able to handle reports of attacks or losses, financial losses, or cybercrime of any type. The professionals, the people who work on it, they develop process to mitigate security threats and define contingency plans for business continuity. The idea behind that is to minimize data and financial losses. Simple things like for the last 20, 25 years, my advice to customers was very simple. You will be attacked, you will lose data, you will have compromise in your networks or your systems. The question is, what can you not afford to lose? And number one, if you lost it, how quickly can we get it back? And then based on that, we then design backup systems and considered business continuity. And luckily, I can say we've had pirate screens, and we had people who came in and blocked networks and removed data from us. We never lost more than a day's worth of activity, and we never paid a ransom. So I'm actually quite surprised why some of the large companies in Australia are still paying huge amounts of ransom, and they have no way of restoring their data. So the next thing we go on from the crime is the cyberspace, to define what that is. By the way, if there is a question, please go ahead, and I'll be able to take them if you like. There's not an issue. I don't see your chat screen. Where is it gone? Are you still able to see that? Okay, I'm not getting any feedback, so I presume the answer is yes. So cyberspace can be defined into many, many ways, but basically it's a world generated by the global network of computers is the definition we came up with. It's broad, dynamic, continually expanding, includes everything from websites to social media platforms, online market, cloud computing, mobile devices, and Internet of Things. IoT has become a buzzword in the last 5 years, I guess, and everything we do is touched by IoT in some way or other. We will touch on that a little bit later also. Applications include communications, information sharing, collaboration, virtual communities, social networks. I mean, anything that happens in any area, it's considered to be a space, a cyberspace, if you want to call it that. I'm just going to run through these, and please, by all means, stop me if you need to. So there are several involving technologies that tie into the cyberspace. Artificial intelligence is one. AI has become the buzzword ever since we've seen ChatGPT. That's become, and it's a huge field. It's a growing field. It changes, and the landscape changes daily. There is almost an impossible way of trying to contain it. It's going to happen in our lifetime, whether we like it or not. It basically emulates human intelligence. So but what it does is, human intelligence is questionable. It varies from people to people. Unfortunately, in machines, when they learn everything exactly like what the intent is to be. There's no, it's either on or off. There's nothing in between. Unlike humans, that can be 50% off at times. It entails the creation of algorithms and programs that usually require human intellect, visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, emotions, and language translations. These are some of the aspects of AI, but it is well beyond that, emotions. These days, AI can detect emotions in people, which is quite scary when you think about it. It can be we can classify it into narrow or weak AI, which is meant to execute a specific tasks, or you can have the general or strong AI, which can accomplish intellectual work that can match an individual, for example. So it can do predictive, the AI can predict outcomes, like a human can. Sometimes we can say this will happen if I did this. It ties into the next part of our presentation, which is machine learning. It offers various applications in healthcare, banking, transportation, and entertainment. It also assists general society by increasing efficiency, improves decision-making, so you don't get it wrong as often, and it allows you to offer better goods, and developing new goods and services which hadn't existed previously. The major issue with AI at the moment is the ethical issues behind it. If you can imagine government agencies, businesses, and people who can discriminate against a wide range of communities, minorities or ethnic groups. So we could, they found, I think it was an operator in the US that was discriminating against the Black people. So if you're a Black person applying for a loan, you automatically got denied. But if you're a white person with exactly the same background, you were given loans. So these are little issues that can creep into artificial intelligence, and ethical AI is a big subject. I'm not sure what India is doing at the moment, but this will become very, very relevant as we go ahead. The Australian government has actually taken lots of steps on it. I've just launched a domain name called aiethics.com.au, and I intend to put some blogs over it to see what we do. An integral part of AI is machine learning. Machine learning can be basically, it goes hand in hand with AI. It enables computer systems to learn from data to predict or act in a way without being programmed. So the best way we can classify this into 3 different ways. It's a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or reinforcement learning. So the 3 of them is, the aim of supervised learning is to train a model that can generalize from given examples and predict the correct labels for unseen future instances based on their input features. So in other words, we tell them what's going to happen. Here's what you should get. Therefore, your outcome will be so-and-so. Unsupervised is when the algorithm learns from unlabeled data. So we don't know what the data is. It actually studies the data using artificial intelligence. It disseminates information, and then is able to then go out and target a particular outcome based on patterns, relationships, and previous data to discover meaningful, to put it out into a meaningful fashion. The third one is reinforcement learning, which is RL, focuses on enabling an agent to learn and make decisions in an environment through trial and error, guided by reward and punishment. So if you get it right, they get rewarded. Otherwise, they said, you got it wrong, so go back and do it again. So this is a reinforced learning. So the machine is forced to go back through its processes and learn by itself as to what happens. Again, the biggest problem with machine learning, like all of our AI, is to make sure the algorithms are accurate, dependable, and ethical. Again, the ethical word is getting, as I said, thrown around very, very solidly at the moment. We would like to, and that will come up in the legal profession more often than not. I believe the governments will possibly go out and legislate against ethical behavior of AI operate as AI platforms. But the machine learning has lots of implications for applications in healthcare, finance, marketing, and transportation. Transportation is huge because, again, it covers every form that you can possibly think of. It's used commonly. It can be used in financial transactions for identify fraud. So it looks at patterns, looks at data, looks at previous history, and then quickly is able to identify a pattern where it can say, I believe this transaction is leading to a fraud, therefore it can nip it in the bud before it actually happens. So that's a huge power that is given to not only business organizations, but the governments and international organizations as well, because crime is now transborder and can happen anywhere. There are some live platforms and general things that we are familiar with now. For example, Google Maps. It requires a machine learning. It requires on feedback from users, and basically to see whether roads are feasible, traffic flow, and things like that. Transport and communication, Ola and Uber, as you know, you can see your car coming towards you or not coming towards you in most of the case. Product recommendations. So when you're on Amazon, they immediately know who you are, what you've done before, what your Google search has been. So they immediately give you recommendations. You should be looking at this. That's all based on machine learning with AI that delivers certain outcomes. Same with Netflix. If you were to go and check something on Netflix, you'll see immediately you get all those programs thrown at you, whether you like it or not. I hope this is making sense. IoT, Internet of Things. IoT is not a product. It's basically a concept. It's a thing. It's a service. I have a lot of conversations going around, people trying to give me IoT products. And there's no one product that makes an IoT device. It is actually a concept. It's a platform. So the only way you can call it an IoT is there's a sensor, there's a single function sensor, could be your air conditioning sensor, it could be your gate counter, how many people get in. Until that data is collected from that point, it is then gone into somebody analyzes it and then reuses the data for some benefit, then it becomes an IoT. Just collecting the data is not IoT, just looking at interpretation is not it. So the entire life cycle becomes IoT. I hope that makes it clear, because as I said, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to people trying to explain what certain things are. IoT operates by connecting gadgets. I mean, I can give you the generic answers, allowing them to communicate with other devices and people. And it allows for exchange of real-time data. That's the key message, which may be utilized using AI and machine learning to boost efficiency, optimize operations, and improve things. One of the examples I try and give, it's very easy to go on about AI, but I think one of the examples I'd give on how to describe what IoT is, if you're driving towards, at the end of the day, if you were to drive home, it knows that it's 5 o'clock and you're in the car, you'd be driving. When you're 10 minutes out of your residence, it'll tell you, remind you, by the way, we don't have milk. I mean, these problems don't exist in India, I must say, but in Australia it does. Somebody buys milk for you there. So it'll remind you your milk was low yesterday. Would you like to buy some on the way, or shall we order it online for delivery tomorrow? And then when you arrive at the door, instead of pressing buttons, looking for keys, there's a facial recognition. It says, may I open the door? Shall I wait? Or would you like to open by yourself? It does that. When you walk in, it says, by the way, it's 45 degrees. It could ask you that in your car, it's 45 degrees. Shall I turn the air conditioner up for you? So by the time you get home in 10 minutes, your room is already cool. And it goes on and does all these things. These are all achieved by different devices interacting through the cloud directly to your personal services that you have enabled that allow them to be able to interact with you based on your previous habits, your preferences. Go back to TV. You'll turn the TV on. It's almost 6 o'clock by the time you get home. So shall I turn on the news for you on channel, whatever it is, that was your preference yesterday. So I can go, I mean, that's really what an Internet of Things is able to deliver to you, which I believe it is a reality. A lot of companies are working on this. There are some great platforms and people doing it. I believe India is well poised because a lot of these requires a command center, interpretation of data and warehousing that I think India can manage remotely for most of the world. Conversely, I believe China has an issue with that because China is not connected to the rest of the world. It has difficulty in sharing data, and they don't. The engineers, even today, when I speak to them, they just don't get the idea of IoT. So I think we have a benefit in India to be able to focus on this as part of it. And again, it is part of machine learning, relies on IoT devices for data, and then in turn goes and uses artificial intelligence to interpret the data to make it commercially, private, personally viable for any project. Okay, I can go on. I can speak a lot about that because I've been directly involved in that. Quantum computing is another little factor. We're collecting all this data creates a headache. Traditional computers work a very simple linear way of looking at data. Quantum computer is allowed to utilize where it's called qubit quantum bits to be able to process multiple data at the same time, which gives you an exponential increase in work throughput. So the traditional server will just look at a flat platform. This is able to do in multi-dimensions and give you far better, it allows you for parallel processing, which gives you far better capacity to be able to handle the vast quantity of data that you get thrown at you from these multiple sources. If you don't have the speed of connectivity, you don't have the speed of response to the data, it actually gets wasted because like in an autonomous car, a driving car, unless you can react instantly to obstacles in front of you, there's no point in receiving the data 3 seconds later because it might be too late. So this is why quantum computing is vital, a key component of making all this happen in real time. Again, banking, drug development, weather forecasting, artificial intelligence are just few of the possible uses of quantum computing. It uses a lot of the encryption data that is generated. Again, if you have we used to have a CRC, very basic cyclic redundancy test data confirmation, but quantum computers use a very complex, large number of encryption data that is able to be done on the fly without having any delays. I mean, these were unimaginable a few years ago. Is what we can achieve today is quite incredible. Blockchain technology, I can give you a whole speech on this again. Blockchain is highly misunderstood in general. I'm not sure where the current exposure is to blockchain on a lot of the people, but basically a blockchain technology is based where it's a distributed ledger is the easiest thing that people tell you. What it allows you to do, there's a certain amount of security, it's tamper-proof, it's transparent data, and it can easily be verified down the track. The easiest way I describe it to a layperson would be, imagine an Excel spreadsheet where every cell is an individual block of data that's only assigned to a particular user. And this user is authenticated using by its own keys. Nobody else has access to it, but it is once that Excel the Excel location is written into, it is not available to anybody else. But if you move from one location to the other using the approved keys that are available to you, then everything is updated immediately, and there's no delays and there's no question about who owns it. The other key message on blockchain is it's like a SCSI drives used to be in the old days. Little bits of data is written on millions of computers or whatever, and it allows it to be, so like in a SCSI drive in the old days, if you had a block of 5 drives, you pull one drive out, everything else carries on going. In a blockchain, I think the number is 51% up, will keep your data running. There's also that exposes you to a 51% attack. That's another issue. So blockchain is basically decentralized with no single point of failure or control, makes them secure, robust compared to centralized systems. These are transparent, immutable, means cannot be moved, cannot be shown, cannot be changed. Means that data added to blockchain is fixed. It's great for financial services, supply chain management, and ID verification and voting. The governments love this for voting systems. Let's see how that develops further down the track. I'm hoping this is all making sense to you without getting any feedback. Encryption technology, again, this is partial of There's a symmetric encryption, which employs single shared key for both encryption and decryption. So in other words, you get one key for it could be a 10 character long, it can be a 50 character long, it can be just simple words like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That could be a symmetric encryption. The asymmetric ones are where they have two distinct keys. One is a public key that is available to a particular to the network, and the other one is kept private by the individual, unless the two keys are matched, or they don't have to be the same. The two keys are recognize each other and acknowledge each other. You wouldn't get access to the data. This happens instantaneously, so there's no wait. This is why you need this high-end computing power in the background. So the encryption takes place on the fly, is without any dangers or delays and or drop-offs. Sometimes, as I said, it could be in healthcare, it could be in autonomous driving. These authentications will have to take place in fractions of seconds, so they have to be responsive accordingly. So they have different classifications of cybercrime. This goes into more into the legal points. Against individuals is one classification, I guess. So the examples are identity theft, online harassment, phishing, cyber stalking, ransomware, and social engineering. We will break into more of those as you go along, but I think you would have come across a lot of these terms and a lot of these environments on your daily lives. But let's just brush on some of them quickly and just to put a refresh on it. Identity theft is cyber crimes. It involves stealing personal and sensitive information via digital methods or physically. I mean, you could pretty much go and steal somebody's letter from a letterbox and create a cyber crime by going to duplicate the IDs. These breaches can be theft of personal information, exposing people to identity theft or other frauds. Other types of fraud. Identity thieves may use stolen identities to commit other crimes, other types of cyber crimes, such as ransomware attack or denial of service. So you'll see. So what I'm really saying is, a lot of the cyber criminals never use their ID, their information. They use a third-party stolen ID that even if somebody was to trace back as to the origins of the people responsible for the crimes, they will find that the person who has been cloned is completely different to the actual perpetrator in that case. So the theft of IDs is become quite it's the way a lot of the crime is committed today on the internet. To prevent identity thefts, I think you have to have security measures, not only in the network, but individually. Strong passwords is a basic one, multi-factor. I think that's pretty much well known to every user of the online banking, and everybody else who does it will be familiar with that. But this is a major factor in personal, cybercrime against individuals. Sorry, the other way around. Online harassment. I mean, I think India is quite advanced in the laws for this. I believe Mamta has jailed people for Facebook postings, I believe. So that's very similar. I think Mr. Modi has just recently won a case against some Rahul Gandhi for making comments, online harassments. I guess it was media can be online as well. But a cybercrime is that someone is threatened, bullied, harassed through online channels, including messages, email, publishing defamatory remarks on social media, online platforms. I guess you can include media of any kind, releasing personal images or videos without victims' consent. Online harassment may significantly affect a victim's mental health and well-being. This is a huge part of the thing. It can result in physical harm or influence the person's personal and professional lives. Online harassment sometimes employ anonymous or false internet persons, making it harder for the victims to identify them. I think it goes back to the identity theft. It's used quite a lot for personal harassment. It's a severe cyber crime with substantial implications, as we know, as per the cases that's been going. People have gone to jail for this already. I think India is probably more ahead in that. Australia, we haven't sent anybody jail for cyber harassments online that I'm aware of. Phishing, again, you're familiar with this, people who lost their bank cards or bank money from their account, they will know how that works. It is, you basically get sent an email or a text message. They usually look like a reputable source, like a bank, and they ask you to get on there and they steal your data while you're on that duplicate phony site. It's a cyber attack that involves convincing people to provide sensitive information. You may get a phone call from the bank, whatever it is. It's another way of getting their data. You can be carried by, again, email, social media, or any other way of getting hold of a person. So it can be from social networking is a great way. You click into a link and you get into it. Early in the days, we went and told everybody, if you get anything that looks suspicious, do not click. The easiest one is like courier companies, DHL, FedEx emails used to carry a lot, but I think people have got wiser to it. It's very tempting to click onto a FedEx message to say, we got your parcel for you. But that used to be the majority of the problems in a network, and especially in a business environment when people are expecting parcels to come. It's very easy to fall into that trap and lose your data or get malware installed into your computers. Cyber stalking, this is these days with social media platform. I'm sure some of you are familiar with these terms and terminologies. You know what happens. Some of you might have even been victim to this, that you might have fallen across that people that you don't need to associate with trying to stalk you, be it professionally or personally. Employs various strategies to monitor, follow, or harass victims online, including messages, publishing defamatory remarks. Again, I can quote Mr. Modi there. He managed to get his day in court. It can be very, it can affect the victims, and there have been victims who have committed suicide as a result of cyber stalking or negative comments on public platforms. Individuals and online platforms must work together. So what happens is, it's not just an individual responsibility. Obviously, legal frameworks are there, or they're worked upon on a daily basis. And the online platforms like your Facebooks and Twitters of the world, they should really, well, they have been, and they're supposed to be involved in preventing this kind of things. It hasn't been that effective, but I think they're taking more and more responsibility than they used to. The European Commission has demanded recently that Facebook and I think Facebook has been fined recently for not performing certain things that were agreed upon when it comes to publicity of information and stuff that they hadn't verified. I think they were fined quite a large amount recently, earlier this year. Ransomware, again, we touched on that previously. It's a malicious software that gets into the victim's files and data and holds them hostage. This is the most common one that Russia is very good at the moment. We've had some large organizations in Australia, like healthcare organization that paid millions of dollars to get their data back. And as I said, as an IT professional, I couldn't understand why they didn't have backup systems. What we did was we were always able to go back one day earlier and then recover everything from there. Hospitals had a problem to operate on a patient. You couldn't do that when the patient was walking into the operating theater and you didn't have the data. They were not able to perform surgeries because of that. So they ended up paying, I think it was millions of dollars. I was involved in that particular instance and that role to negotiate to get them out of that dilemma, because they had patients in hospitals that they couldn't move or could do any treatments to them. This is a huge business. It's a $1 billion industry already, and it'll just grow exponentially. And a lot of people are getting rich out of this. There are companies out there who sell you a kit how to become a ransomware operator, if you want to call that, go and run your own ransomware business and make money. It's a turnkey solution you can buy online for the dark web. So it's going to be there. It'll happen. So I think the advice I give to customers is, it's not, don't look at it as when it's going to happen. If it's going to happen to you, is when it's going to happen to you. So be prepared and have contingency plans to overcome that. And as I said, the money is based on, they already know everything about you. They go into a company, get your financial records, they know how much money you made last year. And usually the ransom is related to your own financial status of businesses. And it can go into, as I said, millions of dollars. Social engineering, again, it affects individuals. It can be for political gains. It can be anything. I mean, you can convince groups of people to reveal sensitive data or perform activities not in their best interest. So in other words, if you get into somebody's head, if you want to call it that, you can convince them to do things that they would normally not do in their daily lives. Psychological strategies to acquire the target's trust and persuade them to perform certain activities. Once you have gained a trusted person, they'll give you the password, their bank details, or whatever else you want them to know. So this is what we class as social engineering. It can include all the different types of phishing, pretexting, baiting, tailgating. These are all terminologies that will come in different forms that takes place. Phishing is the most frequent type of social engineering, in which the attackers use emails or text messages that appear like they're from a bank or somebody authentic like that, and deceive users into disclosing a login credentials. So for example, it says click here to log into your bank because your bank is now blah blah blah, and the people go in, type their email, type the details, and they're able to capture those details live and then use it to fraud you later. So these are the threats to individuals when it comes to cyber threats, I guess. Then we move on to the next section. I think it is against property. So you have this is again very similar to individual, but it affects not you personally, but your assets, your properties. So it targets businesses, organizations, and their digital assets, or IP. Some of the forms are obviously malware, denial of service, intellectual property theft, and cyber vandalism. And we can break them out into malware. Again, we worked on that. We describe what that is. It's a combination of the term malicious and software. If you combine the two, it becomes malware. So the idea is they'll send in Trojans, worms, ads, spyware, ransomware, whatever they can get into. Once they have access to your device, be it your phone, your mobile, your laptop, or network, they're able to write little, very simple things to either lock out users, steal your data without you knowing, or be sniffing it data as you're working on the systems. Malware is intended to accomplish specific objectives such as stealing data, interfering with system functions, and causing file damage. As I said, it comes through email attachments, some text messages. You can go into certain websites that are compromised. They'll be stealing your data from you. Capturing your keystrokes, and then it'll be exploiting any software flaws within your system. The easiest way to avoid malware is to run up-to-date software, run legal software is another thing, and do not use illegal software, unknown software that you are not familiar with, which is very tempting sometimes. When it comes to mobile phones, downloading apps is a dangerous exercise unless you are very familiar with the vendor. You should avoid any APKs on your devices. And it's always good exercise to keep checking your phone to see accidentally you haven't loaded anything extra. So keep that. These are basic steps you can take. Opening files from unknown sources, that's just the basic way of avoiding a malware attack. Denial of service, I think we spoke about that. It's basically criminals getting together and attacking a particular server or a service to make sure that it is occupying the entire bandwidth of the network, so that if you're trying to place an order, you can't. It's done sometimes by competitors, sometimes for other ways of gaining financial advantages from them. So yeah, that's a very, very common thing that's been happening, which is why you have when you try and get into a site, you have to do a visual authentication or proof that you're a human, because a lot of the denial of service attacks happens automatically using computers and botnets, and they're unable to act like a human to identify you. Up till now, I'm sure that'll change as time goes on. The attacks can be amplified using servers or services to magnify the attack flow. So imagine if you have control of 1,000 servers, once you hack into people's computers, you can use their computers to then do a denial of service attack on a particular service. It could be a government agency, it could be anybody. This is, there are software systems, there are, as I said, there are systems in place that a lot of organizations are aware of it, they take care of it. So, but these are some of the things that we have to be aware of. Intellectual property theft, just like any intellectual property that we're familiar with, it's very easy to take creative work, inventions, company confidential information. It's again, it allows much easier. You don't have to break into people's offices anymore. You can pretty much get what you like online. And I think the law enforcement agencies are aware of this, and they're trying to. So if you look at the penalties for IP theft, you combine that now with cybercrime as you're crossing over different barriers of the law, combining them to one offense. So I think this would be an evolving field, and you'll see more and more patterns come out of this as to what's going to happen. So patent infringement, again, take somebody's idea and sell it as your own. Copyright, we all know what that is. India did not have very great copyright laws until recently. Music and films, everybody knows what a video VCR cassettes did to movies. Trademark infringement, again, it's very loosely managed. In most places, it's a very hard thing to do unless you're a multinational company with deep pockets. Trade secrets is some things you're working on. All this are exposures. All this exposes you further if you have an internet connectivity as opposed to a physical locked room that you're working on. We had a lot of businesses in the early days. The accounting systems were not even on the network because they did not like the idea of having exposed. But those don't work anymore because every accounting system I know, they're all cloud-based these days. So that issue is now that step is no longer available to people. Cyber vandalism is basically physically damaging or defacing any digital property. A website, people will go there and put in messages on your website that you didn't want there. It could be porn, it could be illegal message, it could be hate message or whatever you don't want to identify with. So this is cyber vandalism, we call that. It's used to make political or social statements. There are lots. I think PETA was one. Text people and puts in dead animals in your screen to say you're killing dead animals, don't do this, and all sorts of companies that used to get attacked by that in Australia. Again, it can do a lot of damage. Reputation of companies. Imagine the user seeing images that are not familiar with your business. If you're a childcare company with a porn image on it, you lose a lot of business as a result of that. It can again be you can be avoided using the traditional ways of making sure that you have a sufficient firewalls, intrusion detection and monitoring systems in place. Companies are now offering you offsite online services for these. In other words, there are companies who specialize on monitoring your traffic to make sure that it is legal and is legitimate traffic and not vandalism that takes place, and they trap it even before you get to see it. It's a huge growth business. In fact, there are several startups that have come up in the last 2 years providing this service right now. So therefore, you have to have a strategy, and the strategy is to find the professionals who are able to do it. Some would say some of these professionals put some of these vandalism attacks to make sure their business is viable. But I'm not saying that, I'm just guessing. Okay, cybercrime against government. Again, all these things here that we said individually in businesses, governments offer the same thing. Governments have other motivations. Any illegal activity that uses digital technology to attack government institutions or officials. This can also be both state-sponsored and non-state-sponsored assaults for a variety of reasons and purposes. I mean, I'm not going to make comments on government's purposes and reasons, but we believe some governments have in fact used cybercrime type technology to go against their opponents, for example. So these are the different terminologies we come up with: espionage, terrorism, financial gains, activism, and warfare. Activism, an interesting one. We'll just go through them as we go along here. Illicit exploitation of digital technology to access secrets from government, military, business organizations, and trade secrets. Again, it's exactly the same as you take from personally, but this is at government level. The goal of cyber espionage can range from obtaining military secrets to getting corporate competitive advantage. So I believe cyber espionage would happen between enemies of nations, Russia and USA, for example, India and its famous neighbors on both sides. Foreign governments, state-sponsored hacker organizations or business rivals seeking economic advantage or political edge are common cyber espionage techniques or reasons. Organizations should establish comprehensive cybersecurity measures. Again, software updates, strong passwords, and then using third-party monitoring to make sure these attacks are not available. Again, this subject has been around for a while, and a lot of organizations and governments are aware of it. As I said, some of this is done intentionally by hostile governments against each other, and it will continue to happen even more so. It'll be something that's not always possible to eliminate, but you should be able to monitor it and minimize it on a regular basis. Cyber for financial gain should be cyber crimes for financial gains. Again, we know all about this. Criminals steal money, personal information of individuals, corporations, and financial institutions. They have several schemes of doing this. We've covered them. Cyber criminals make transactions, unlawful transactions with stolen credit cards. They create fake profiles to be able to go into the black market. Ransomware attacks, again, this is a huge business and it's growing exponentially. I haven't seen reports in India of cyber ransomware attacks, but I'm pretty sure it does take place. And majority of the time, companies, especially banks, don't like to release this information that they have had an attack because it's detrimental to their customer base and creates fear within their customers. So again, I think cyber crimes for financial gain is the basic reason why people get into that. There has to be a financial gain to do it. Very rarely do they worry about other things, but I think personal attacks aside, majority of the business in commercial is done for financial gains. Activism. This is another interesting thing. Social activism is something that can be used. Digital platforms are great for that. We know that what WhatsApp can do to try and get a rally going, to get your political, when you're marching across the country, you need WhatsApp to be able to tell people where to meet you next, to you'll be there, where you're going to be in the next few hours. So these are all cyber activism. It enables groups of people to rapidly and effectively reach a worldwide audience and generate support for their causes. So next time you want to go for a walk, make sure you're active in the cyber world to make sure you have the maximum impact on your activities. And I think every political party uses it now, and it'll get more and more into many, many sectors before we know it. This is something that is an example that was quoted by, I think, Mahir put it together. So there's a plus side to this. The series of protests and revolutions in Middle East, in North Africa, in about 10 years ago. It was primarily organized to promote through social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, to in-person rallies, and then it raised awareness about climate change, human rights violation, political corruption, and has played a role in bringing about social and political change in many areas of the world. So this is, again, there is good to it. There is benefit to society. I know of it. There's a very nice movie, I forget the name, but it's a Chinese-made movie about selling of drugs imported from India into China when it was illegal. For example, there was a cancer drug that was developed by a pharmacy in India that was relatively cheap compared to the American counterparts. The American drug was something like $10,000 a month, and I think you could get the same thing for India for something like $1,000 a month. I'm not sure the exact numbers. So the person who was doing this was obviously arrested in China, prompted by the pharmaceutical companies, global pharmaceutical companies. He then while he's in jail, they created this whole social platform awareness of what this guy was trying to achieve. He was not profiteering. He was doing for the good of his fellow citizens. The government eventually, after jailing him, changed their laws retrospectively and allowed made the drug legal to be sold in China legally. It would have happened about 10 years ago, I believe, 5, 6, or maybe, yeah, it would have been 10 years ago that happened. So again, this, if you look at the actions, technology was used for some good in this case. And I didn't hear much about that in India, but I actually found this out in China while I was there. Cyber warfare, again, contains illegal conduct. However, again, it covers very similar to what we said before. It can be based from nations. A nation can take a cyber war against it. It can be political parties against each other. A lot of military strategy will rely on cyber warfare, I believe. I don't think the idea of sending people with guns is going to be around for too long. I believe that the rest of the war is going to be based on digital and information war as opposed to physical war that we've seen traditionally in wars. So the next Mahabharata will happen in using the cloud, I believe. The cyber warfare and crime both employ similar tactics. So it's very similar. They use identical same things, but it's for different cause and different purpose. I think it's a pretty generic, familiar term, and you will see these come across more and more in legal and other professions as you're dealing with this. So I think with that being the last lot, I ran through it very quickly. I'm more than happy to sit down and say, look, we went through fast. How are we doing for time? Do we want to sit down and break out and ask any questions? Do you have any concerns? Is there something that you would like to know more about? Please feel free to ask me. Go ahead. Where are we? Is everybody there? Hello? Can somebody come back and tell me what's happening? Stop share. Here you go. Hi.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hello.
Everything is clear, sir.
Everything's clear? So you're happy?
Yes, sir.
Was
Yes,
it too
sir.
fast? I just ran through it quickly. I'm not sure whether
No,
that makes
sir.
sense.
Sir, the pace was okay.
Okay, good, good. And you understood what I was saying?
Thank you, sir. It was great lecture.
Okay, thank you. And how familiar were you with the topic? Have you been working in this area at all, or is this a new area that you're looking to go to? I'm not very familiar with the background of
Yes,
the.
sir. Yes, sir. I just studied this semester only, this IT law.
Okay.
So I am much aware of all those terms. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
and we had done some work with the National Law University with regarding some cybersecurity things that we discussed probably 2 years ago, 3 or just before COVID. I think Sheila was involved with it from the Ministry of Electronics and a few other places we looked at. So yeah, okay.
Okay, sir.
Actually, India has progressed quite. They had a lot of things in place legally. I noticed the directions were rather interesting that they had taken. As I said, I've never seen anybody go to jail on a Facebook post in India, in Australia, but I believe India is very common. So that's saying a lot. Am I right in that or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've never heard anybody going to jail for a Facebook post in Australia that I'm aware of.
So there was a recent case, not recent, but it was on the funeral of Bal Thackeray. 2 girls, were, they posted something. The procession was out for his funeral and they blocked the streets and all.
Right.
And they posted a comment on the Facebook, and there were two young girls who, one just liked that post and one posted. They both were, charges
I
was
recall.
against them, but later on they were released. But this case was very limelight in that time. Yes, sir.
Yes, I remember that one. In fact, were they not Calcutta based? Where were they based?
Sorry, sir.
Where were they based in in Maharashtra, or were they based outside of Maharashtra?
It was Maharashtra
It
case,
was Maharashtra.
if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
I'm sure some people in Bengal area also had a similar issue.
So sorry, sir, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, that was earlier, I believe. So yes, and I've never heard of that in Australia. I mean, so far, I could be wrong, but I've never come across it. Okay. So where is Rashi still there? Okay, Rashi, is that, I mean, if there's no questions, we can end it here and you can enjoy your Saturday evening. What are I hope you have good plans for tonight. For me, it's almost midnight here.
Sure, sir. It's Shrey here. So thank you
Uh-huh.
so much for an insightful session, sir. We really appreciate it. So just a general announcement for our students. So you will be receiving your assignments for today and tomorrow. So as usual, the deadline is next Friday, and please adhere to the deadlines. And of course, all the class notes and the recordings will be provided to you by tomorrow itself. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Ratsa, for your time.
No problem. I'm happy to share that presentation. So if you want to dig information from that, it's there. There is no question.
That would be great, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
I'll
sir. That
send
would
it
be great.
to Rashi. I've changed the bits of pieces of it, so have a look at that. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.